Hey guys, Hippopotamus here. Give you a quick wave. Uh, I've been away for a little while, and I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year. Um, Today I'm going to be bringing like a little bit of a weird build to you because somebody kind of asked about it and they were sort of interested, and it is a little bit different. So I'll give you a quick warning off the bat. To get some of these pieces is going to be a little bit tricky and might require you crafting or hitting the summit or wherever you can find the pieces. But yeah, this is I call it a C2 beacon build. It is a skill build, but also allows you to keep a lot of weapon damage in the process and has some utility when you are with teammates. So let's just start the normal way and go over to the specializations table, and we'll go through what is interesting here. So I'm using the technician, and there is a few reasons for this, but predominantly the main reason is for the extra skill tier that we get, so that is quite useful. We also have the 12% extra damage to drone skills, proxies, and robotics. So that's useful because it's just extra damage, especially in PvE. That's what you're kind of looking for. We're not going to be using this in PvP, so this is very useful because it synergizes well. We can use an armor kit with emergency patch to repair skills and skill proxies, so that's quite useful should you need it. But I don't think we're going to see an extended mileage from it, but if your turret got a little bit low and you were also a little bit low, you could pop a med kit and just keep the turret going in the fight. We don't actually use the artificer, it's not really very useful there, so that's nothing that we're going to actually look at. But what we will say is that the overclock CPU, the 10% extra skill damage, is something that we're going to want to invest in with this build, and is quite useful. The Faraday field doesn't really give us anything here, so that's of no use. And the bonus armor can be useful if we're throwing out the turret and we're just holding on to it, so at least one of our skills are going to be able to take advantage of that. We also have the EMP grenades. They are very, very useful for stopping robotic enemies and disrupting humanoid enemies if we do need to do that. So they can be quite useful. The main thing really is, other than the extra skill tier, is just the synergizing weapons, and in this case it is an assault rifle and a rifle in this case. Right, okay, so let's go down to the range, have a look at everything like we normally do, go over all the stats and blah 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 as usual. So, we'll start off with the build, and I'll just head straight into the menu here, and I'm going to talk about the weapons that I have here first. So in this case I am using an ACR SS. You can use whatever you want, but I just found this weapon, with having quite a lot of crit chance and crit damage when we finally finish, is fast firing and is quite good. It hits pretty hard, it's got a fast fire rate, so it's got all the right things. However, you can use the Harmony, you can use any other weapon rifle that you want. It's not a requirement, it's just something that I've chosen because I quite like how it works. So mine comes with rifle damage, crit hit damage, which is quite important in this case, and damage to targets out of cover. With the talent, I've gone with Killer because it's giving me extra crit hit damage, and that synergizes well with the gear set that we're using. However, if you wanted to use in sync or any other talent, you certainly can do there, so this is pretty much open to interpretation however you want to take it. We are using crit chance mods everywhere and an extended magazine, giving us an extra 20 rounds on that. Unsurprisingly, for our assault rifle, we're using the capacitor, and this is because obviously just how it works, what it does, it's going to give us an extra lot of skill damage, and it's also going to give us quite a lot of weapon damage, considering that we have quite a lot of yellow cores, so we're actually taking advantage of that and we are hitting quite hard. So mine comes with assault rifle damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover, and 10 ranks of expertise. You can place as many as you so please. So the talent, capacitance, basically when we shoot an enemy, you're going to get stacks up to a cap of 40, and each gives you 1.5% skill damage. Now I believe I actually said 40 one time. I think it's actually 60% skill damage. Now this is just too good to pass up. Especially because, you know, we're going to be lacking some skill damage from our gear set pieces, but given that, this is going to be very, very useful. Now, the extra nice thing that's good about this is for each yellow tier or skill tier that we get, we gain 7.5% weapon damage, and we are at 6 tiers given that we have the technician, so we get 6 tiers of weapon damage, which is great. Obviously the mods we can't change. For the pistol, I'm using a 5.86 Magnum, and this comes rolled with pistol damage and health damage. I have chosen health damage because I only pull this weapon out when enemies are low, and when they're on low health, so the health damage is nice. If I could get damage to targets out of cover there, obviously that would be much, much better. Couldn't find anything else, unfortunately, there at the moment, but we'll, sort of find something later maybe and improve that. The talent is pretty much locked in here. It's future perfect. So when we get a kill, what's going to happen is it's going to put us into overcharge. But effectively, every time we get a kill, we get +1 skill tier. Stacks up to 3 times, which we really don't need. We only need 1 kill to go into overcharge. But this is going to be our way of getting into overcharge when we see the opportunity to do so. And we have reload speed and crit chance placed onto the mods there. Okay, so starting with the build, I'll start off with the exotic, and then I'll move to the gear set, and then I'll use the brand set last, because this will make a little bit more sense. So I'm using the new beacon. This comes with weapon damage, crit chance, crit hit damage, and I've placed a crit hit chance mod into it. So the talent is Bond, so both you and your allies receive 30% extra crit hit damage when they're in range of you within 10 meters. You also get 15% skill efficiency and 2% armor regen, but this requires an ally to be close to you within 10 meters. So we're going to have this some of the time if we're playing with teammates. However, because we have a sniper turret that we can place down next to us or within 10 meters of us, we're pretty much always guaranteed to have this secondary bonus, which is effectively half, giving us 15% hit crit damage, 8% skill efficiency, and 1% armor regen when at least one of your skills is with you, and that's pretty much all the time. So we're actually going to be getting some uptime out of this, and these bonuses you'll see mesh really well with the way that I've managed to put the build together, and it's going to help us quite a lot. It's just worth noting that only the highest group of buffs can be achieved at that one time, so whichever one comes first will override the other. It's just worth knowing, but it's nothing to write home about. Just try and stay with your teammates when you can. And something that I do when I see somebody low on health, I try and go and get within range of them to help give them that 2% armor regen. So if you can go near teammates, it's something worth considering. So onto the gear set, and I'll start down here at the holster, and I have the concentrated company. Hence the reason why I call it C2 is because 2 C's, concentrated company, and we'll just go over the brand set and what it does, and then I'll go over the pieces and what they've got. So with 2 pieces of this, it's going to give us 10% weapon handling, which is good because it's stability, accuracy, reload speed, and swap speed, which is all good things that we're going to use, which is great. Sorry, that's 10% weapon damage, excuse me. That weapon handling is the next one I'm reading down. 10% weapon damage, bloody hell. But yeah, 10% extra weapon damage, so that's giving us some extra damage, right? You know, we're a skill build and we don't have a lot of damage, so this is going to help us out just a little bit. Right, try again. 3 pieces are going to give us 30% weapon handling. So that is stability, accuracy, reload speed, and swap speed at 30%. All good stuff. This is going to help us, keep shooting, reload faster, stay on target, etc., etc. So nice little bonus. Now, the 4 piece. So I'm going to explain this, and then I'm going to explain my reason of thinking of why I changed this to be a skill build. So the 4 piece is called camaraderie. So shooting an enemy marks them for 7 seconds. When they're marked, when enemies die, receive 1 stack of 3% weapon damage and 2% crit hit damage for each ally or skill that has contributed to killing that enemy, including yourself. So we can get max stacks of 35, and 1 decays every 10 seconds, which is fine. The maximum amount of marks that can be placed is 4, which is absolutely plenty for us in this situation, because the chances of us killing 4 targets at any one given time is not going to be super high. It's possible, but it's something that we don't need to get any more from. So the chest piece at this point is a no-go. So the reason why this build's hard is because you really need to get skill damage on the bottom, and then you roll the top core attribute to a skill tier, creating a skill build. Now, the reason why I've gone for a skill build is because if we look, we notice that it's basically when you shoot an enemy, you're marking them, and everything that contributes to killing them, including your teammates and your skills, is going to help you. So having skills that can get kills quickly and finish enemies is going to be quite important, especially if you can get multi-kills with them. That's going to be very, very useful. So this is going to make a little bit more sense as we go along. So just note that I've got skill tier and skill damage, and this is something that repeats on all four of my pieces, okay? So I have a skill tier and skill damage, and then I have skill tier and skill damage. And then for the backpack, I have the same again, skill tier, skill damage. And now what we've done is we've placed a crit hit chance mod into the backpack. And this is going to help give us the crit chance that we need, because we're actually going to passively get crit hit damage by killing targets, right? So the main thing is that we get as close to the 60 crit cap as we can, and then the crit damage is going to come from, you know, killing enemies and stacking up, getting our stacks. So the only thing to note is just a skill tier, skill damage, and then crit chance placed into the backpack. The one thing that I do want to say is the talent on the backpack is very important, because it's going to increase the weapon damage bonus per stack from 3 to 5. So that's going to be giving us, I think, a little over 100 extra weapon damage. Now, when you think about that, because we are pretty much all skill apart from one tier, this is going to basically give us the damage that we'd have if we were a normal damage build, but also allow us to be a skill build. So that's very, very useful. So for my last piece, I'll go over this, and it's a piece of Wyvern. It's just giving us an extra 8% skill damage, which is useful because it's just tickling our skill damage up that little extra bit that we need. And the way that this is rolled is it has a skill tier. We have a crit chance roll taken on here to get some extra crit chance, and then we have 10% skill damage and a 6% crit hit chance mod placed into the mod slot. So that is all very good stuff. So we'll go down to the skills and the grenade. So obviously I have the cluster mines. You can put whatever you want here. I found the drone works very well, but I just think that the cluster mines, when you have an opportunity to kill multiple enemies, the cluster mines can do this. And given that we only have 7 seconds to kill an enemy, I think the cluster mines, when you have the opportunity to let them off and get multiple kills, this is going to tickle up the bonus much quicker than putting a drone on that's just going to kill one enemy at a time. But they both work pretty effectively, so you can pick and choose what you want. And there may be other skills that you choose to use. Maybe you might choose the Oxidizer or any other skill that kills enemies reasonably quickly. It's totally up to you. But I've just found that the Seeker Mines, they help me get the bonus quick, and I'll show you what I mean in the range when we go in there in just a second. My Seeker Mines have skill haste placed into them because we have very little skill haste, and this is going to help us just a little bit, so the damage is not placed in here, and then we've just got an extra cluster mine put into the ball bearing slot. So what we'll do is we'll just look at the other skill, and I have the sniper turret. So the sniper turret, it does massive amounts of damage. The turret, the normal turret, is great. It does a good job. I've tried it and it definitely works, but I just feel like once we hit an enemy with our gun, if we follow up with a sniper rifle shot, especially to the head, this is nearly always going to kill a target quickly, and it's going to contribute in a way that's actually going to help us get enemies weak quick and dispatch them. So that's why I've chosen the sniper turret. Mine has just got a few in-slot mods. It's got 5% extra damage, it's got a sniper bullet, extra sniper round ammo in there, and it's also got skill haste in, because again we have very low skill haste. Skill haste is something that we sort of lack on a little bit. We also have the EMP grenades, again just good for shutting down robotics and disrupting humanoids if we need to do that, but other than that, not really the main focus of the build. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that we can benchmark correctly, and we are on heroic. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the modifiers off, make sure they're off, and you can see that it isn't on, so we're not getting any false stats or buffs from any of this that we shouldn't be having, okay? So given that, let's go look at the stat sheet and go through that. So I have the talent killer on my ACRSS. Again, you can change this if you so please. You can put on whatever you want. We've discussed that. We have capacitance on the other weapon, which is very, very good. That's going to help us a lot. 60% extra 60% extra skill damage, which is very, very useful, and extra weapon damage as well. And that's on the capacitor. Future Perfect on the pistol, we can just pull this out and just kill an enemy quickly and go into overcharge should we need to. This is useful again because the sniper turret, it really speeds up the fire rate of the sniper turret, allowing you to get multiple shots off. So if you can remember to do it, it is actually quite useful. Weapon damage, we start off reasonably quite low, but once we get, you know, full stacks, we're going to be hitting quite hard, and you will see the numbers change quite a lot. the main thing to really note here is that we have 55 crit chance and 74 crit hit damage, and that's good because obviously the crit hit damage number is going to rise as we go along, so bear in mind that. We also have a little bit of accuracy, stability and weapon swap speed there that's going to help us with the recoil in this weapon, because the recoil is quite a lot on this gun. If we move over to the capacitor, you'll see that we have 50% crit chance. That's as close as I can get to the cap right now, but we also have a reasonable amount of crit damage on there as well, so we're, okay. We're not hitting the crit chance cap, but we're close. We definitely could take another chance in the role of crit chance if we wanted to somewhere, but I just feel that the trade-off for this is as optimal as what I could get it. So, we also have 50% on reload speed bonus and accuracy and stability, all great stuff, very useful. So that's helpful there. And then on our pistol, we just have 45, but remembering this is just for a quick kill when an enemy's weak, so we'll just hold on to that for a minute. So weapon damage numbers, again, we do get that 10% extra weapon damage, which is good. It's going to help us a little bit to start off with, but this is going to rise once we start getting stacks. So this is something that's going to increase over time. As we switch weapons, we'll see that we get, a little bonus to each of our rifle and assault rifle, no problem. Okay, so our gear talents are 1 for all on the backpack. That's an absolute must. We need that to get the 5% rather than the 3. And we have Bond from the beacon chest piece. The gear brand sets we have is 1 piece of Wyvern, 4 pieces of concentrated company, and obviously the beacon chest. Armour is quite low at 726,000, so we are going to need to play a back line. We can't be super aggressive, but we do have some armour regen once we're around teammates, so if we take a little bit of damage, if we just keep our head down, we can get some armour regeneration passively just by playing as a team member. So there's nothing else really to sort of talk about in here other than that my 10% here are off my wristwatch, and if you're not wristwatch level 1000, you need to bear in mind that your stats may be a little bit different here, so if you're not over level 1000, just please hold that into consideration. So for the skills, we're at tier 6, we're in the range here, so I just need to disable that and then just pop in and out the range, and we'll just take a quick look at that. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've made one of these videos, so there is a couple of mistakes and I do apologise. Let's just head over to the stat sheet and go down. Okay, so we just got 10% skill haste and it's a 40-second cooldown, but there is a reason behind why we're using that, we've discussed, and I'll show that. Okay, they're doing a little under 2.5 million damage, and we'll show those mines in just a second. And PvP, it's not even worth thinking about it. It's not built for that. But the thing is, with the sniper turret, we can see that it does quite a reasonable portion of damage, 2.6 million, and that's going to help us dispatch targets quickly in that 7 seconds that we've got to do so. So the cooldown is not too bad, 17 seconds. We get that back reasonably quick. So we're always really going to have our turret most of the time, and our seeker mines are just where we can achieve a multi-kill. Okay, so how to use the build, what to do, how to use it. So the main things really is just if you see a weak enemy, and the reason that I have health damage on my pistol is that we can go into overcharge, right? So if I've got health damage, shooting at an enemy that's health damage, I can kill that enemy quickly, get overcharge, and then maybe throw out my seeker mines, mark a few enemies, and I might be able to dispatch 2, maybe 3 of those. So as we use the build, it's going to get stronger, and the more teammates that you play with, obviously, the better. So as we mark enemies, we're just going to shoot at them, and you'll see my damage starts rising slowly. This may just take a minute while we're in the range. You can see my damage going up there slowly. Numbers that there's no way that you're going to be hitting for something like this with a skill build. Okay, once we get our seeker mines back, maybe we'll throw some seekers. See if we can dispatch a multi-cluster of enemies. There we go. You can see that kind of helped a little bit there, that I got a multi-cluster of enemies. You can see that our damage is slowly ticking up. This may take a minute, because I'm obviously on my own in the range. So this might take just a little longer than what it might if you were out with teammates, but we can see once we start getting to like full stacks, which we're almost at now, you can see that I'm hitting for like a million on a crit, you know, in the head with a capacitor. Anywhere from like sort of 7,000, high 7,000s to up to a million, which is absolutely crazy. And then what we can do is we can also pull out our ACR. And I think I've seen this thing hitting for about 1.4 million with bonuses, so it definitely does hit quite hard. There you go, so 1.4, there you go. So what this is effectively doing is it's giving us a skill build that's hitting reasonably hard, but we're also gaining the utility of the chest piece. And I just found that this was an interesting way to use it because we obviously gain the skill efficiency, which we can use ourselves. We have the crit hit damage, which we are missing a little bit by having so much crit chance, so that gives us something back. And then we have the armor regen, nothing to write home about, but if you play in the correct way, it's definitely going to help you. And then obviously the bonuses from this, having extra weapon damage and weapon handling, this is what got me to thinking that maybe this should be a skill build. Anyway guys, hopefully that all makes sense. Please give it a try and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you do go on to find this build useful, then, you know, just drop me a little message. Thanks very much. Sorry about a couple of mistakes in the videos. It's been a minute since I've been there, and I really thank you for your ongoing support. See you all in the new year. Maybe I'll drop a couple of videos. Maybe I won't, but I will see you around. Thanks again, guys.